Hello everyone and welcome to my PB of Xenoblade Chronicles Future Connected All Ponspectors normal mode. This is a PB I got yesterday while doing an offline run. It could very easily be improved, and there is a good chance that it's going to be improved, but this is a good showcase of the current era, I think. Outside of the few mistakes that I'll point out when we get there. But yeah, let's give it a go. Let's explain everything that's happening, and let's watch it together. All right. So Future Connected happens. The events of Future Connected happens a year or so after the event of Xenoblade Chronicles 1, and it was added to the definitive edition of the game that was released on the Switch. And unlike in main game, we start with only 2 of the 7 character casts, which is Melia and Shulk. So I noticed at the start you could see that I was able to match through the tutorial really fast. It's because I was able to match A, and I realized that you can also match the DAR as well as A to match the text, so I was able to make it that go away a lot faster. So first thing to change is getting Nene in the team over Kino. So Nene is an opponent that deals damage while Kino heals. And also give her a dive sabat and bone upper, or whatever the name is in this version. Simply because that's the 2 arts in Nene's arsenal that can build chain. Hence the choice. Because building chain is actually very critical to this run. Very similarly to the way it works in any percent casual mode. There is a lot of fights that involves a lot of enemies that can be one-shot by chains. And since we're getting All Ponspectors, our chain attacks are going to deal a lot more damage eventually. So it's very important to actually manage your chain gauge properly and don't do anything stupid with it. Because unlike in main game, you don't have any good way to build it outside of fights. While main game had Happy, you don't have anything of that in this game. You really only have Shulk to build chain, which is why he's going to be the main character. Yes, this is a showcase, as I said. I got this PB yesterday offline, so I wanted to showcase it. And get to do post commentary on it. Everyone starts at level 60 except the opponents that start at 58. Because the 2 opponents start at 58, it means that if I want to have a party at a certain level for the final boss, I can't use both, otherwise I'm going to lose time. So I have to choose between a tank in the person of Nene that can deal damage, or a healer that can't really deal any damage. We'll go with a healer because Shulk and Melia are really squishy. They are 2 of the characters with the lowest amount of HP in the whole cast in main game. So we need some sort of healing. On top of that, we don't have access to good agility up gems or skills, which was the main reason why we could go without a healer in main game, and also we can't use arts to cancel enemies' arts like in main game because we don't have access to visions, which means that we have to tank it with our HP most of the time. Or like the art is going to be so slow that we have time to use specific cards. You never have time to use shield or whatever on Shulk, so you would always have to place it preemptively. But reflection you sometimes have times if you are prepared for it. Yes, Sharla has more HP than Shulk and Melia. Actually, tanking in main game, tanking with Sharla is a valid tactic. Because she can heal herself, so her healing is a form of tanking. So you can see a party of Melia, Sharla, Ricky being viable. So the first, we just got our first Ponspectors, so there is 12 Ponspectors in total to get. This is the first one, kind of a tutorial to tell you, hey, Ponspectors are important, grab them on the way. And so now we have 11 quests to complete, and the first one is right there. And is the most difficult one in this route. It's probably going to be rerouted, if there is anything that's going to be rerouted in this run. Considering doing this one, we get 2 or like 5 more extra more levels. Just because of how complicated and stupid it is. And you're gonna see how bad this is going to look like. So the main idea of this is you have to fight 3 Sardis. It's just much more convenient to fight them all 3 at the same time. Here, for whatever reason, my auto attack hit all the way over there. This is the first time I've ever seen this in this game. And the problem I have is that I'm on 1.1.1. And that means that sometimes enemies will just run away for no reason. And this is what's going to happen there, I'm pretty sure. This guy right there is going to stop fighting. Or not. Oh yeah, see, right there. Like, he was still fighting me and he stopped. So I had to restart the fight against this guy, so I'll have to kill a third one and a fourth one. Because this was great. On top of that, since you tank with Melia, Melia is just going to die super fast. So keeping Melia alive is actually kind of difficult sometimes. Like you just lose half of your HP in one attack, it's just so sad. Alright. So the main idea of the gameplay with Melia is that well, she's going to summon spirits on top of her head. She can have up to 3 spirits up, and that's going to boost the party. And if she releases them, that's going to deal damage. And so the electric one deals a lot of damage one time, and everything else deals damage over time. And so you basically want to maximize the amount of damage over time you use, because the overall is better than the straight damage from summon electric, whatever it is called. So the second part of the quest here is to get 3 more cubs, and thankfully it's, as far as I done, and as far as I understand, it's guaranteed to have 3 more cubs on the way to the next landmark. So we grab those, get the landmark, and come back. The idea of the reroute I have is talk to Evelyn, or don't talk to Evelyn, I don't know. Go to the landmark, do the farm, end the farm, teleport back to Zephyr's Council, come back, do the fight, and since you picked up the more cups on the way, just talk to Evelyn again. And that way the same amount of movements, give or take, and the fights are much less of a pain. So the way the map works in this episode is that, like, it's really just a giant open world. You can go wherever you want right from the bat. Which is pretty convenient because that's going to allow us to go straight to the farming spot with very high level enemies that are positioned very well, very nicely. We need to kill to get a few more XP if we want to beat the final boss. Hence why we're going to farm. And it's also going to make the following fights much easier and much less painful. Notably Galgar and Dino. So right there, this is a little skip that allows us to go from Thoroughfare to all the way down. Place where you're not supposed to go to until way later. You could still go around and get there normally, but this is just not much faster. Does weather matter at all in the run? No. Weather doesn't have any effects in the Xenoblade 1 combat system. It does in Xenoblade X. It's going to give you very small boosts or the debuffs, depending on the weather effects, that can make or break a fight in some occasions, but not in this game, no. This game's combat is rather simple if you have experienced it. If you don't, then it can look very obscure just by looking at it. So the idea is that you fight in real time, kind of like an MMORPG. Whoever is dealing the most DPS is going to end up taking the aggro of the enemies. And then there is so like that's usually the glass cannons, and then you've got tanks that are here to just create virtual aggro to make the enemies target you, and that's basically Nene's role in our party. Shulk is here is a glass cannon that's here to deal debuffs and physical damage, and Melia is here to deal magical damage and damage over time. They usually don't function well together because, like, when you want to deal physical damage, you want to focus on physical damage all the time, while Melia you want to focus on damage over time. But it's all we've got because our last character is a healer that doesn't have any good way of dealing damage, so we'd rather have him out of the party as much as possible. If you're wondering, okay, if you don't have any healer, how do you heal? Well, Chuk has a small heal, that is rather low cooldown, and can help out on fights that are not going to last very long. But as soon as there is characters with too high damage, it's just going to not work out anymore.
This isn't going well.
What? Don't you dare give up.
Yes, in Xenoblade 1, there's going to be certain certain enemies that are only going to spawn with certain weather. But since we're doing quests and enemies that we're fighting are always here, it won't matter. It does matter in 100% because there is one unique monster that is only available with rain. But it won't matter for this playthrough. Yeah, it's in the name, Light Heal. Light Heal is Shulk's patcher part. You can also have some sort of form of healing with Melia, but it's so... it's really negligible and not worth getting over her damaging art. So there is one... in this route you don't really need any collectibles, except one. You need one Sky Mule, and I got lucky and got it first try pretty much. So now I don't have to worry about that anymore. And the chest that I just grabbed before going all the way up here has a has 2 stuff, and it has an electric of 5 gem that's going to boost my electric damage, so I'm going to give it to Melia so that she deals more damage with summon electric or summon ether. I can't remember his name. Is the way you get it. Deals electric damage, so electric up is very good. And the second item is a cap that gives EXP up 2, which is going to give me plus 20%, which is going to give the character that has it equipped plus 20% EXP, which is going to be obviously very interesting for the farm. Yeah, Summon Water is has a regenerating ability, so if you stack like 2 or 3, it's probably going to do some decent stuff. And then if you use it, then you're going to heal out the damage that you dealt. The problem is you don't, like, you deal like what, 200 damage, so you get like nothing from it. You get nothing from it, so it's really just never worth getting. Alright, so good Cloud Top Lookout, which is going to allow me to go back to Hekasa, the Nopon I just talked to, which has a very annoying and long quest. And then also go back to Abbasis Doldrum later. I want to do Hekasa squads before the most, like, one of the really annoying fights of the game, so that I reach a level benchmark for which like the fight is not going to be too hard. Here I'm going to get aggroed by a lot of enemies. You might have noticed that I'm jumping here and there. That's because when you're jumping, you don't get an animation that's where like show stops moving and takes damage, which is pretty nice. And I die just as I hit the landmark, as I wanted. That way now I'm not aggroed anymore, and I can fight this guy. I'm just going to like run away from them, de-aggro them, and that's going to give me just enough time to grab the chest that has an EXP of 4 cap, which gives me plus 40% EXP whenever I kill an enemy, which again is very useful. So that's going to allow me to get one character at plus 20% EXP and one character at plus 40% EXP. I'm going to give that to both Shulk and Malia, and alternate between both, so that they reach the same level at the same time, approximately. And Kino is going to be there for the farm, so that it doesn't get the minus 20% EXP, because he's going to be in the main cast for the final boss. Now, Kino's level doesn't matter for the final boss, really, but the more HP he has, the less chance he has to get one shot. And so this is a strat to farm enemies in all of Xenoblade 1, pretty much. If you put an enemy to sleep, then you always have a chance to hit it, because like right now, with 10 level difference, I pretty much have a minus. I think it's minus 20%, 200% chance to hit it, which means that I'm never going to be able to hit any physical arts on him. But he has no resistance to sleep, so if you put an enemy to sleep, he's going to be hit with a guaranteed chance by the next attack that he's going to take. So I can just use Spear Break, which has a little bit of knockback, and then knock it out of the fight. And so this category doesn't need that much XP. I'm just going to do this 11 times, and this should give me just enough experience to hit level 73 for the final boss. So it's going to be 5 times with EXP4 on Melia and 6 times with EXP4 on Shulk. And then I'll swap out the EXP4 to Melia during the rest of the run, so that she catches up to all the extra XP that Shulk got. I'll talk about it later, but the way I did, I made a mistake compared to my routing in this run, but it's eventually worked out, and I will explain why later on. But basically, the XP is really tight on Melia, and if she hits 72 for the final boss, it's going to you're going to be able to make it as long as Shulk doesn't die. Because Ether Art doesn't use the same formula to hit, so like they're going to have a much higher chance to hit enemies, even if they are in like 6 or plus levels higher. But it's still much more convenient to be level 73 because like, that way you deal a lot more damage and you're much more efficient. But like the one person that you absolutely need to be level 73 is Shulk because he only has physical arts, and if he doesn't have level 73, then he's basically useless for that fight. And Kino doesn't matter because it deals no damage whatsoever. Ricky has a high stat, HP stat in Xenoblade 1, yes. Is it useful? It's useful in some party combination because like Ricky is going to have a hard time tanking if there is rain or Dunban in the party, but if you've got a full ether party, which is that is going to heavily rely on damage over time, which is characters like Melia or Ricky, which combines very well. If you add in Shala, who doesn't really build any aggro, then you're going to be able to tank with Ricky, and therefore that's a very valuable party, and that's pretty much the only party where Ricky can be a tank. Just because like he will be able to take the aggro. Alright, so farm is done. As you can see right now I'm level 65, which is going to make everything from here on out much easier. So let's go. As I said, we don't really farm for everything up until anything up until Gelgar, where you pretty much need farm if you want things to actually work out for my testing. And then the dino fight before fucking you need farm, and then you need the XP for fucking. This fight is pretty simple, we're 3 levels ahead, so everything is going to die. If you are lucky, you can push enemies off the cliff. Not like this. Would have worked if the enemy just didn't move. Well, it happened. And that's the main reason why we use Melia for this fight, just because we've got Spear Break that can push enemies off the cliff. And also, overall, Melia is much better at dealing with multiple enemies than Shulk, because Shulk has a really mono-target art palette, while Melia has a lot of AoE, and because of the property of damage over time, you can just use one art on one enemy and then they're just going to take damage over time, and when you've got AoE damage over time, then that's jackpot pretty much. But the main reason, so like Melia is really good overall for fights that are going to take longer than 10 seconds. The thing she's really bad at is building chain, and as I explained in the introduction of this run, building chain is going to be the most important thing in the run. Actually, starting from the next fight, where every strategy is built around build chain and chain attacks. So after that, we're going to play as Shulk. Oh, nice lag on the video.
reach my limit. Someone need help?
So before I go to Alchemouth, which is on the way to the little bridges that you can see on the world map, right there, we're going to take a little detour and go to that little place just north, because that's going to give us a quest, and that quest asks us to kill 3 oracles on the way to Alchemouth. So in the casual route, you would actually kill them on the way to Alchemouth, but it's just extremely slow in normal mode because you don't have as much DPS to deal with them, and you also don't have enough agility to guarantee you're always going to hit at level 65. And also, if the fight drags on for too long, you're just gonna die. So instead of dealing with that fight in the way that's more convenient for movement, I did it in the way that's more convenient for fightings, which works out better and much more consistently. Overall, that is the goal of my route, is consistency. As of Evelyn, I really didn't look into it too much, because sometimes like Evelyn can be okay. Even with this route, it's just that most of the time it's just not going to work to be a good time. But anyways, the idea is I'm going to go to Alchemouth and then come back for the 3 stupid birds. I explained earlier that I'm not going to go out of my way to pick up collectibles because I don't need any. But I still need a little bit more of extra money for the only shop in the run. So I'll pick up the collectibles that are literally just right on the way. And since visions don't really exist anymore, we can get visions for getting collectibles, which means we're not losing time by picking them up. That one was so nice when I got it. I was like, dude, that's so cool. So I did the jump in order to jump on the platform, and I got hit right as I hit the platform, so I didn't lose any momentum, which was really cool. Also, don't often expect this Monterey to hit me, but I knew that it was a possibility. And I'm very glad that it actually hit Nene instead of me, because otherwise it would have been alone. Alright, so Dry has a very simple quest, which is pick up these 5 feathers. And so as it's time to delve a little bit more in the way the gimmick works for Future Connected. So in Future Connected you don't have access to visions, and the chain attacks were changed. So in order to gain access to the chain attacks, you need to have 3 different types of Ponspectors in your party. You need to have Healing Ponspector, which is 10-2, the one you get right from the start. Yellow, that deals debuff. and red that deals damage. Once you have access to all 3 types of Ponspectors, you can access to chain attacks. So chain attacks, you have 3 types of chain. You've got killing chain, damaging chain, and daze chain. So daze chain is going to just daze every enemies for a certain amount of seconds based on the amount of Ponspectors in your party. Healing, it's pretty obvious, and damaging is going to deal 1 more tick of damage based on the number of Ponspectors, so up to 12 ticks of damage. On top of for all 3 of them, they all give a massive amount of damage. So it's very, very good. It changes from the base game where you could choose the arts of your characters and they would just do a chain attack together, where Shul could use Slit Edge and then Malia could use Summon Wind, and then Nene can use Summon like Sword Drive with a system of combos in there and stuff. But here that's pretty different. You're gonna see it in a few seconds. So this party composition is pretty weird. As I explained, Kino deals no damage compared to Melia, so why would I ever switch Melia out? That is because I want to build as much chain as possible in this fight. So I need this fight to last as long as possible. And also, while also building chain. And Kino is actually better at building chain against flying enemies because he has access to Crackle Bullet, which is effective damage against flying enemies. How do you build chain exactly? You might ask yourself. Every art has a chance to deal a bonus effect. So backslash deals 100% more damage from the back. Slit Edge deals the debuff physical defense down. And air slash deals slow on the side. So every time you hit these arts at the position to get the bonus effect, you're going to actually get a little bit of chain, which is what you can see at the top left. You can also build chain with critical hit, but that's not how you usually build chain. So I need Shul to use as many Slit Edge, air slash, and backslash on that fight as possible. Don't really use backslash too much because it deals too much damage. And so as you can see, I was able to finish the fight with maxed out chain. And because you're going to lose a little bit of chain every time you're not in battle, I specifically moved a little bit out of the way to aggro this, to be aggroed by this squirrel, so that I reached this fight with nearly full chain. And now I just need to figure out a way to build it again. And dealing with the enemy's aggro here is really annoying. As you can see. So every time you are aggroed by an enemy, you are always going to be in front of it. And that's a very specific situation, which makes Shul incredibly bad with his tanking. So the better I hit the B presses, the higher the bonus damage is going to be. And so I want to max it out in order to, well, one-shot the robots. Like I did, except for the last one that just didn't want to die. And now we get a defense buff and takes forever to kill. But overall the objective is to just kill them all in one shot. Which is very consistent with this strat, as long as you can build the chain. Which wasn't really good at this run, unfortunately. Alright, so now that I got the fight where I wanted to use my chain attack out of the way, I can just keep doing story stuff. Now I'm just going to clear set quest, which are just to kill the struggles. And since I cleared the quest just now, I can just nicely beeline to the next story stuff, which is a little bit to the right of here. Very conveniently. The one problem with this movement right there is that there is two caterpillar-like enemies on the way, and so there is multiple ways for enemies to target you in Xenoblade. You've got vision, you've got gregarious, I think that's a word, event, where if one enemy of the same family as you is going to be targeted, then you are going to be aggroed as well. And you've got sound, so like as long as you're going to walk, you're not going to be noticed by sound aggroing enemies, but as soon as you stop, then they're going to aggro you, and I was just trying to avoid them from aggroing me, because those caterpillars have a binding attack, which would just stop me from moving, which is really annoying in a speedrun. So I really wanted to avoid that, and I thankfully did, even though I got aggroed. So now we are in Dell. It's a big town, quote unquote, of this area. It's actually not very, very big. It's kind of like a refugee camp. And this guy right there is 1-1, and in order to start this quest, you need to have all other 11 no-opens. So we will only talk to him way later. So the next few things we've got to do here is we'll talk to this guy over there, and then go to Solnarcia Island, where there's 3 fights coming up in a row. And the final fight of all that is Galgar, which is a very annoying fight to do at this current level. So I want to hit level 68 in order to make the fight way easier, and most importantly, way more consistent. Nice movement there. And in order to do that, I have 2 Ponspectors set up, which is Tate and Hekasa. Nice light. Oh yeah, also, I passed next to Nerthis Ponspector earlier, because that's going to make an enemy spawn in the room where I picked up the second chest, right before farm. And if you make it spawn before picking up the chest, then you can do the trick I use in order to pick up the chest. You actually need to kill it before being able to pick up the chest. So that's why I avoided talking to him and only started talking to him just now. So a little mistake here. I was supposed to talk to Hekasa before going here, and I'll quickly realize after talking to Day that I did something wrong. But that made me lose probably like 10 seconds. There you go. I thought about it later on, and maybe I could have just gone to the next landmark and then teleported to Cloud and Cloud Up Lookout, and that way I would just lose time for doing the next teleport. But I didn't think about it back then. Only realized when I was on my way to Hekasa that I could have done that. It should have been a little better, but that's fine. It's not the biggest time loss of this run. I'll say that much. Okay, every time you want to talk to Ekasa, you've got to do this long 1 minute 15 movement section. And we've got to come back to her one more time. After we killed the little Tyrkin on the way to the Necropolis. Which is why we want to do Ekasa and Tata at the same time, is because they share pretty much the same location. So it just fits in nicely in the route to do them at the same time. In the casual mode category of this run, the stone opponents are actually done at the very end. Because at the end, Shulk gets a massive boost on the Monado he's got. Right now it's dealing 570 to 680 damage, I think, something like that. And in endgame, his weapon goes to 999 to 999 damage, which is very good. It's basically the base damage of the Monado 3 in base game. Though the one difference is, right, is that it doesn't have 80% crit rate. Instead it has normal crit rate. And right there it was me trying to think that I knew where the Necropolis landmark was, but I actually messed up. So no time save there for me.
Going well. Please hang in there.
So I really want to avoid this little guy, because if I'm seen by this guy, then I'm going to be aggroed by like the whole 8 dudes around here, and that's a pain. I don't want that to happen. I want to kill this guy alone, and that way once I kill it, I can just run away. Why didn't I press stream edge there? Oh, probably because I thought that I would kill without. Which is cool. Could have saved like 2 seconds on that fight. Maybe now 2 seconds, more like 1 second. Oh well. Doesn't really matter. It's very difficult to fully optimize fights in Xenoblade 1. And as much as I think that I am one of the best at this game, it's still very hard to always hit perfectly. So Tate's quest was just to pick up that item in the back of the Necropolis. And in order to do that, you have to dodge the spider nest and the spider that are going to aggro you if you make too much noise. So depending on the positioning of the enemies, you have to walk. Right there I was able to assess the situation and realize that I could just like keep on running as long as I pick that specific path right there. And now I can talk back to Hekasa because I killed the Turkin. I could technically delay that talk to Hekasa after the Gelgar fight because they already hit level 68. But there is no point in delaying it because, well, it's just extra damage on my chain attacks, and I'm going to use my chain attacks for the next on 2 fights on the next segments. So it doesn't really matter. It's actually, I'm pretty sure it's just better to do it now instead of later. And because there's a pain of doing all of that, I may as well just finish it. So as I've been talking about it, Galgar and the two previous fights are the first few fights that are a little bit complicated since the start of the run. So it's time to set up our character a little bit better with whatever I got. So better attacking gems and shulk. Finish boosting all the R's that are relevant on every character. Buster and armor on shulk because the AI likes to use armor. All the summoning arts with Melia because that's basically our bread and butter for damage and buffs. And setting up reflection, which is probably Melia's which is one of Melia's best art. Reflection allows me to mirror back the damage of an enemy and not take it, which is really good on like any art that's going to deal some nasty stuff. And it's thanks to that art alone that Melia is able to tank stuff. That and the Spearic and Starlight combo she has that allows to topple enemies even if they are not broken. It's a very good combo. I think that fight is not going to go as well as planned because I'm just going to deal too much damage with Shulk. And also taking the bleed damage that I can't heal. I was able to deal with it overall. It's just that I kept the aggro and Nene wasn't good enough to take it back after that. And then I take a stupid buff art again. I think I would have been fine if I didn't take the other art. So the problem with having that happen is that I lost a third of the chain bar because like AI characters reviving other characters take a third of the chain bar, and I wanted by the start of the Galgar fight, but this fight is going to go well enough so that I won't have any problem. That's also why I decided not to use Buster to deal damage on this fight, just because I wanted to make sure that I would hit the random amount of chain. Since I know that enemies actually take a lot of damage over time on this fight, on all these fights, because Melia is in the party, I just put enemies at low HP and then target the other enemies so that the damage over time kill them. Because like ultimately what you're trying to do is have every enemies die at the same time, somewhat. Or like once you're done killing one, the other ones fall really fast. So damaging chain, I don't think that's going to be my best one ever. Yeah, it's still pretty good. Hitting excellent on this chain is really difficult. So all this extra damage that you just is the extra damage because of the raid chain, and it's one extra attack per knob-on. And as you could see, that deals a lot of damage. And now Galgar is just going to be double locked pretty much and die. Well, double. Wouldn't happen as well if it was if I was one level lower. So now the objective of for the rest of the fight is to build as much chain as possible because I want it available for the next fight. And I actually succeeded doing that. And got my moon at the back. And that's a Galgar fight. Doesn't look like much right there because I think everything went well, but With one less level, it looks very, very different. So the next fight is the 3 Cragmaws that I left earlier. They are part of the Fofora side quest, whom I talked to when before hitting the skip to the farming section. And just like the Ruggles, this fight can take a while. Not really difficult, but it's just much faster to do this. I've been 20 seconds faster right now. Ponspectors till die! And there we go. Here. I could have been technically a little faster if I managed to kill them all during the chain, but I didn't hit the last Cragmaw before the chain, so could have been a little better. I'll take it. Again, as I explained, it's really hard to always hit perfect in fights. This chain hit deals a lot of damage, and so that's why I want to have as many fights back together, so that I can always have access to a chain attack. For all the annoying fights. And so there is going to be one more fight where I actually use that afterward. Now it just nice movement.
This isn't going well.
Someone need help?
That's before. Oh yeah, also one of the main reasons I have Tay before Galgar is because Tay gives a gem that is physical defense down. So physical defense down, every time like any gem that has a debuff on it that you put on your weapon has a chance to trigger a debuff on the enemies every time you use auto attacks. So as long as you don't use any arts in this game, you are going to your character is going to use an auto attack that is going to deal very little damage. And is going to build your white art or talent art. So here Virtual is going to build the Monado art, the Monado Gauge, which is very good to do crowd control and remove buffs of the enemies mostly. Or big damage. Melee is a little bit different though. So is Kino, but it's overall the main idea. And so physical defense down is going to allow me to put a new source of physical defense debuff on enemies.
Is that all the backbone you have?
Right there, I realized that I didn't talk to Fifa a second time after talking to him to her the first time, so I had to talk to him again. Her? Because that's for Fifa that you need the Sky Mode. So there is two ways to do this next part. Either kill the first right there, or this one over there. This one over there has a little bit more HP, I'm losing more level, which means I'm going to get a little bit more XP, and that's thanks to that my routing mistake is going to be fixed. But I made the route so that killing the other first is going to give you level 73 on Melia for the final boss. But there I realized that the little B was going to be too close and was going to aggro me, so I just decided to peace out and go for the more bulky one. So about debuffs again, because now we're going to have a long sessions where I go to Sfob. You can have multiple sources of debuff on an enemy and it's going to count as multiple sources. So say Slit Edge is going to deal physical defense down, which is like, I think, a 20% physical defense debuff. And my physical defense down 4 gem is going to deal is going to proc and is going to hit deal 16% physical defense down. They're both going to stack it. That's going to give me a plus. That's going to give a debuff of 36% physical defense down on the enemies. So a very good strategy in Xenoblade 1 and this game as well. Though it's really harder to set up because you've got this way to do it. Is to stack the same kind of debuffs, but from different sources. So the more physical defense down on the enemies, the better. Because the other cool thing is, there's no limit on the amount of debuffs you can stack. You can go physical defense down, can stack up to 100%. So you can completely remove the enemy's defense stat. Which is obviously really good if you're going for damage. And obviously damage is good because, well, finish the fight faster. Sadly though, because we're not in a full physical party, Melia can't really use that debuff too well, so it doesn't change a lot in the long run. But it's still cool to have. So you should stack Blaze, got it. I mean, technically, yes. You've got debuffs that deal damage over time. As I explained, it's basically Melia's bread and butter. Blaze, freeze, poison, damage over time debuff. They stack with Ricky's debuff. So having both of them in the party is actually a very, very good team comp. Because you're going to be able to stack a lot of damage over time. Now you just need to always have different sources of that same debuff. So say you want to, you use the fire summon Blaze debuff twice, then it's only going to be applied once. The second one is only going to just reset the timer on the debuff. There I was supposed to go here, but I just naturally went towards the boss. Yeah, like I said, stacking debuffs is most of the time the way to go in this game. If you want to do stuff fast. Or efficiently. Alright. So now I get a new rod for Melia so she can deal more damage. And an armor piece that that has a slot for which I can put the HP up so that she can tank better. Because from now on she's going to be our tank. Yeah, the party member with the least amount of HP in the party is going to be the tank. Because reflection is just that good. That and also the fact that I have Kino for healing her. And maining her is actually going to mean that the tanking is actually going to work, because Melia is really bad at, well, doing Melia stuff, which is spamming elemental discharge. That's the best way to play Melia. And so once Melia is going to be to tank over Shulk, then Shulk is going to be able to go for his usual stuff, which is spam, slit edge, air slash, debuffs, use backslash, basically build chain. Now Sumo Stomp is annoying because that's going to topple everyone in the party, but we've got a reflection, so now this is fine. I didn't realize that I had low tension when I did this fight. I don't think that changes much for electric arcs. But yeah, like right now Kino is dead, but that's fine because the boss is nearly dead anyway. And Shul can heal me just fine because Summon Stomp is gone. Yeah, don't have to revive. Because again, I won't change for the Dino fight. Which is not next fight, but the fight right after. And so for this fight, I actually don't want to use Mela, but I want to use Shulk. Because this enemy has Diving Bite. So while Summon Stomp is a normal art that can be... that I can protect myself from with Reflection, this guy has a talent art, which is Dive Impact, that Reflection doesn't protect me against. That's the one thing that Reflection doesn't protect you from. Won't protect you from. It's talent art, but Shield has access to Shield, which is going to completely negate Diving Impact damage. But the one thing is that I have to use it preemptively if I want to have any good effect on it, because fusions don't exist anymore. And also that allows me to use Ether right from the start, because the boss has a tendency to use a buff that boosts physical defense. And now the second part of the fight, which is dealing with all the ads, is much more painful compared to Melga main, but it just makes this fight much more consistent. Like, as you can see, what does Shulk do in order to hit AoE multiple enemies? He just hits a one target tank. And there we go. So for the next fight, this time instead of dealing with the main guy as fast as possible, I want to deal with all the ads as fast as possible because they are really nasty. And so we switch back to Melia, and but because we want to deal with them real fast, like really fast, we're just going to chain right off the bat. And use a Daze Chain just to be safe. In case the bonus damage isn't enough. So now they are going to be dazed pretty much forever. And because we've got access to AoE arts with ice and fire, well, they're just dead. And now it's just time to clean up. Usually he's not going to do much for the rest of the fight because he's so slow. And if he does anything, then I've got access to Reflection, so we're fine. But that's not it, because there is one more fight after this for All Ponspectors. And for that one, I really like to have Chain available, because that's just... the fight is really nasty, you take a lot of damage. That... I'm pretty sure that was from Perfect Reflection right there. So yeah, Tyrannotale is a really bad art that you can see. It's got two arts basically, Tyrannotale and Devourer X. Yeah, you've got access to Reflection to deal with that. And now that I've got Chain available, I can go straight for the no fight. And then do the same thing as with the oracles. So bait them a little bit so that I don't have to fight the unique monster. Get my chain up however I can. And kill them. So I don't have to kill the ads here. Technically. But I still have trouble with the XP management. And since they are just right there, I'm just going to kill them both. Because they're already like nearly dead anyway. I've got the super Monado to deal massive damage. There we go. What was that split extra bad again? I can't remember. I think... Yeah, so the splits are kind of bad at this point because my PB actually had a perfect... like it had very, very good segments.
One big hop towards true
Past farm, if I recall correctly, so I'm just losing time everywhere. But that's fine because I know that I've got a lot of time save on the final boss. So right now, you are supposed to switch Melia's headgear. That way she's going to be fine for the final boss, guaranteed. But I forgot doing that and I only realized after killing the enemy. So I was really scared, but turns out that it worked out because I just killed the other first earlier. It's that close. It's really that close. And so back to Melia main again. Because we're going to do something that is fairly obvious for anyone who's ever played the game and never thought about it, but for whatever reason I never thought about it until like I had to figure out this guy a little bit more. So like, you've got an enemy you need to kill. One enemy, solo. He's near a cliff. You're playing as Melia. What do? Do you A, kill it normally? Or B, use the same thing that you've done every time in order to farm enemies with Melia, which is putting it to sleep and use hypnosis? Answer is obviously B. Answer is obviously B. And that's what I'm gonna do. Now this guy has sleep resistance, so it can fail, but overall this fight is just much better using Melia because Shulk has hit rate issues. So it's anyway just better to just you can still go back to normal strat and just fight him normally with Melia. Now the disadvantage with this strat, however, is that now I don't have chain for fucking, so that makes fucking a little bit more inconsistent because fucking is nasty boss, let me tell you that. It's probably the hardest boss in all of Xenoblade 1. Just because of the way it works. And because of the tools we've got access to. Even harder than fighting Zor at level 22, for anyone who's ever tried. Also, yeah, this is the final cutscene for recovering all Ponspectors. There is one more quest that you get right there that basically involves the final super boss of this game. But we're not going to do that because he's too high level and that would just require extra farming and we don't want to do that. And honestly, it's kind of a lame fight. Even if you do it at like, I think level 75 is when you can start doing it somewhat fine. So agility down, physical defense down, and agility down on Shulk. All very good. So physical defense down I already explained. Since agility is directly your hit rate, if you lower the agility of an enemy, then you're going to lower his hit rate, and you're going to buff your hit rate as well. So it's very good to have, and strength up is just extra damage, so that's good on a character that is there to deal a lot of damage. So yeah, the next fight and the final boss fight, I have a very good chance to die right from the bat, even in this category, especially now that I routed Signa that way, because now I start the fight without chain. Because if you manage to get into the fight with a chain attack, then you're going to be able to kill the ads fast, and then it's just one enemy to deal with. And Melia is really good at dealing with only one enemy. Because she has access to reflection and Starlight Cake. So the very difficult part is the start of the fight. because the S deal a lot of damage, fucking deals a lot of damage, and most importantly, fucking well, he has very nasty arts. He's got Agni's Beam, which does, well, AoE damage and to everyone. All of his art attacks are ether based, so you can't dodge them. And he's got a lot of AoE. Even his, and probably the biggest problem with fucking is that his auto attacks deals AoE damage, which is a massive pain. And because I'm tanking with Melia, and Melia is just... Oof. Good luck tanking with Melia. Just... Yeah, I nailed it already. So just going to topple this guy so that it doesn't annoy me too much. Or rather, try to topple the ad. Yeah, this is going to be fun. So yeah, remember auto attacks dealing AoE damage? That's how Kino died right there. Fucking was just spamming auto attacks only, and Kino died. So you just want to be as far away as your teammate as possible, because sometimes fucking is just going to be that annoying. Now Shulk is going to do a little AI dance, where he's just going to trying to get to Kino, but pathfinding is bad. So I was trying to make him actually get there. But alright. Now the fight is somewhat stabilized. I should be fine for the rest of the fight. Still, that was scuffed, but as it always is, was fucking. And that was scary, let me tell you, so really HP. But that's not it. So this fight is in two parts. And the second part, he doesn't start with 2 ads, but 4. So consider how much trouble I had to deal with 2 ads. Now double that amount, and make fucking have more levels, and more attacks, which are all a lot more annoying. You've got a problem! So I absolutely need a chain attack. And so now that I've got it, because Shulk managed to cooperate, I can just kill it. Kill this boss. Also, every time I hit the B button, the Ponspectors is going to activate and be active in battle and actually use their art, so it's very important in this game that you hit all the B presses. And I think fucking died to reflection there, but I'm not sure. Anyway, fucking 2. Started with Summon Knight. And just like for the Dino fight, days in order to make sure that I've got time to stabilize the fight. Ponspector still with time. So phase 1 fucking really only have arts that deal damage and also buff debuff, but nothing too bad. Now he starts having some really nasty stuff. The main one is Mispress. Well, we've got Agni's Beam, which is going to half a full HP. That's fine. Alright, fine. Miss Spear Break, so I can't use Starlight Gate. So Internal Boss is going to hit everyone in AoE. Doesn't kill anyone. So I can just safely just keep on spamming arts. And yeah, damaging art. And look at this cutscene, it's so good at the end. Look at this guy, I'm just like... Always love it when you've got 12 Ponspectors and use that art. Alright, so Mispress is an AoE art in front of King that's going to topple you for 20 seconds. For 20 seconds, you're not able to do anything. Very important to have reflection when this happens, or any kind of way to deal with that. So, toppling game works. And collision burst, well, it can kill Kino. And I think it will kill Kino. No, just really close. Really close to killing me too, because I missed time reflection. And I was really scared of dying, because one more extra like auto attacks and I was dead. Fun boss fight. This is definitely like the hardest boss fight in all of Xenoblade 1. And GG. Alright.
What are we supposed to do now?
Stats future connected finished in 1 minute 15 and 12 seconds. As you could see, there is about, I think, about 2 minutes to save. Rather easily. Because of bad movement, bad fights.
What? Telethia? Why? What?
So I think going for 113 is probably the goal. Is this category? Also, menus were kinda scuffed.
Melia, for whatever reason,
Wasn't
those
really
explosions
great.
seem to be distorting and destabilizing the rift.
But for once I didn't die, so...
Incredible. They saved us.
I hope you enjoyed the commentary and I hope I was able to explain everything as it was happening.
Please, buy me some time.
But I honestly find that this category is very interesting. Because the fights are all very interesting and the fight strats are all like very solid. And always pretty intense. And you get enough times to spam Win Measure! Find Treasure! Ponspectors till we die! All that stuff. And the farming, like, you get to see it for so short amount of time that you just have enough time to think, whoa, this is so funny, before it becomes boring. So I think overall this category is the most interesting one showcasing Marathon in all of Xenoblade 1. Because you have the intensity of the fights, the consistency as well, not much farming, and memes. Because memes are important. And also an epic final cutscene. That cutscene is so cool. Also funny no one's dancing and looking cute.
The future is safe. Finally.
It is.
And also, like, obviously, this category is pretty short. It's 1:15. It's like very short for a JRPG. So yeah, I think I'll let the credit rolls. And then we can move on to other stuff for the stream.